There all alone, she smiled to last the while. In the shady darkness of poor desolate, they now had measured many a weary mile through a waste desert, with her heavenly fate and his own will him brought. He praying sat, and him to pray as he to pray began, the citizens of the wild forest ran, and all with open throat would swallow whole the man. Soon did the lady to her graces cry, and on her wings herself did nimbly stroll. After her coach 1,000 loves did fly, so down into the wilderness they throw, where she and all her train that with her flow through the area wave, and with sails so gay, sinking into his breast that weary lay, made shipwreck of themselves and vanished quite away. Seeing that man had them devoured all, whom to devour the beast had made pretense, but him their savage thirst. Okay, let's try that. Seemed that man had devoured them all, whom to devour the beast, as then that man had made pretense. They were going to devour him. But him their salvage thirst did not appall, though weapons none he had for his defense. What arms for innocence but innocence? For when they saw their Lord's bright cognizance shine in his face, soon they all did they disadvance, and soon unto him kneel, and some about him dance, and some about him kneel. Down fell the lordly lion's angry mood, and he himself fell down in Congi's low, bidding him welcome to his wasteful wood. Sometime he kissed the grass where he had did go, and as to wash his feet, he well did know, with fawning tongue he licked away the dust. And every one would nearest to him thrust, and every one would knew forgot his former lust. Unmindful of himself to mind his lord, the lamb stood gazing by the tiger's side, as though between them they had made accord. And on the lion's back the goat did ride, forgetful of the roughness of the hide. If he stood still, their eyes upon him baited. If walked, they all in order on him waited. And when he slept, as they his watched themselves conceited, sated. Wonder doth call me up to see, oh no, I cannot see, and therefore sink in wonder. The man that shines as bright as God, not so, for God he is himself. That close lies under that man, so close that no time can disasunder that band, yet not so close, but from him break. Such beamers as mortal eyes are all to wake, such sight to see, or if they should see, to speak. Upon a grassy hillock he was laid, with woody primroses befreckled it. Over his head the wanton shadows played of a wild olive that her boughs so spread. As with her leaves she seemed to crown his head, and her green arms to embrace the Prince of Peace. The sun so near, needs must the winter cease. The sun so near, another spring seemed to increase. His hair was black, and in small curls did twine, as though to wear the shadow of some light. And underneath his face as day did shine, but sure the day shine not half so bright, nor the sun's shadow made so dark a night. Under his lovely locks his head to shroud, did make humility herself grow proud. Hither to light their lamps did all the graces crowd. One of 10,000 souls I am, and more, that of his eyes and their sweet wounds complain. Sweet are the wounds of love, never so sore. Oh, might he often slay me so again. He never lives that thus is never slain. Who boots watch those eyes for all my art? Mine own eyes looking on have stole my heart. In them love bends his bow and dips his burning dart. As when the sun caught in the adverse cloud flies across the world, and there anew begets the watery picture of his beauty proud, throws all abroad his sparkling spanglets, and the whole world in dire amazement sets. To see 2 days abroad at once, and all doubt whether now he rise or now will fall. So flamed the godly flesh, proud of his heavenly thrall. His cheeks as snowy apples soft in wine, had their red roses quenched with lilies white, and like to garden strawberries did shine, was in a bowl of milk or rosebuds bright, bosoming their breast against the light. Here love-sick souls did eat, there drank and made sweet-smelling posies that could never fade, but worldly eyes him thought more like some living shade. For laughter never looked upon his brow, though in his face all smiling joys did bide. No silken banners did about him flow. Fools make their feathers ensigns of their pride. He was the best clothed when naked was his side. A lamb he was, and wool fleece he bore. Wove with one thread his feet low sandals wore, but bared were his legs, so went the times of yore. As two white marble pillars that uphold God's holy place where he in glory sets, and rise with godly grace and courage bold to bear his temple on their ample jets, veined everywhere with azure rivulets, whom all the people on some holy morn with bows and flowery garlands do adorn. Of such, though fairer far, this temple was born. Twice had Diana bent her golden bow and shot from heaven her silver shafts to rouse the sluggish salvages that den below, and all the day in lazy covert drowse, since him the silent wilderness did house. The heaven his roof and harbor was, the ground his bed and his moist pillow grass, but fruit there none did grow, nor rivers none did pass. At length an aged sire afar off he saw, come slowly footing, every step he guessed. One of his feet he from the grave did draw. 3 legs he had, the wooden was the best. And all the way he went he ever blessed, with benedictions and prayer store. But the bad ground and was blessed and never the more, and all his head. But the bad ground was blessed never the more, and all his head with snow of age was waxen hoar. A good old hermit he might seem to be, that for devotion had the world forsaken, and now was traveling some saint to see, since to his beads he had himself betaken, where all his former sins he might awaken, and then might wash away with dropping brine, and alms and fast and church's discipline. The dead might rest his bones under the holy shrine. But when he nearer came, he loted low, with prone obeisance and with courtesy kind, that at his feet his head seemed to throw. What needs him now another saint to find? Affections are the sails and faith the wind, that to this saint 1,000 souls convey. Each hour, O happy pilgrims, thither stray. What caring they for beast or for the weary way? Soon the old palmer his devotions sung, like pleasing anthems modelled in time. For well that aged sire could tip his tongue with golden foil of elegance and lime, and lick the rugged speech with phrases prime. Ah me, quoth he, how many years have been since these old eyes the Son of Heaven have seen? Certes, the Son of Heaven they now behold, I ween. Ah, mote my humble selves, so blessed be, as heaven to welcome in his lovely roof, and be the temple for thy deity. Lo, how my cottage worships thee aloof, and underground hath hid his head in proof. It doth adorn thee with the ceiling low. Here honey, milk, and chestnuts wild do grow. the boughs a bed of leaflets upon thee shall bestow. But oh, said he, and therewith sighed full deep, the heavens at last too envious are grown, because our fields thy presence from them keep, for stones do grow where corn was lately sown. So stooping down he gathered up a stone. But thou with corn canst make this stone to ear. What need we the angry heavens to fear? Let them envy us still, so we enjoy thee here. Thus on they wandered, but those lowly weeds a monstrous serpent and no man did cover. So under greenest herbs the adder feeds, and round about that stinking corpse did hover the dismal prince of gloomy night, and over his ever damned head the shadows aired of thousand peaking ghosts, unseen, unheard, and all the tyrant fears, and all the tyrant feared. He was the son of blackest Acheron, where many frozen souls do chattering lie, and rule the burning waves of Phlegethon, where many more in flaming sulfur fry, at once compelled to live and forced to die, where nothing can be heard for the loud cry of oh and ah, and out at last, that I, or once again might live, or once at length might die. Or once at length might die. Ere long they came near to a baleful bower, much like the mouth of that infernal cave, that gaping stood all comers to devour, dark, doleful, dreary, like a dreary grave, that still for carrion carcasses doth crave. The ground no herbs but venomous did bear, nor ragged trees did leave, but everywhere dead bones and skulls were cast, and bodies hanged where. Upon the roof the bird of sorrow set, a longing, joyful day with her sad note. And through the shady air the fluttering bat did wave her leather sails and blindly float, while with her wings the fateful screech owl smote the unblessed house. There on a craggy stone Solano hung and made his direful moan, and all about the murdered ghost did shriek and groan. Like cloudy moonshine in some shadowy grove, such was the light in that which despair did dwell. But he himself with night for darkness strove, his black uncombed locks disheveled fell about his face, through which, as brands of hell, sunk in his skull, his staring eyes did glow, that made him deadly look. Their glimpse did show, like cockatrices' eyes, that spark of poison throw. His clothes were ragged clots with thorns plying fast, pinned fast. And as he musing lay to stony fright, 1,000 wild chimeras would him cast, as when a fearful dream in midst of night skips to the brain and fancies to the sight some winged fury, straight the hasty foot, eager to fly, cannot pluck up his root. The voice dies in the tongue, the mouth gapes without boot. Now he would dream that he from heaven fell, and then would snatch the air afraid to fall. And now he thought he sinking was to hell, and then would grasp the earth, and now the stall. Him seemed hell, and then he out would crawl. And ever as he crept would squint aside, lest him perhaps some fury had espied, and then at last he should in chains forever bide. Therefore he softly shrunk and stole away, no ever durst to draw his breath for fear, till to the door he came, and there he lay, panting for breath as though he dying were. And still he thought he felt their crapples tear him by the heels back to his ugly den, that our fain he would have left abroad, but then the heavenest hell he feared that punished guilty men. Within the gloomy hole of this pale white, the serpent wooed him with his charms to end. There he might bait the day and rest the night, but under that same bait a fearful grin was ready to entangle him in sin. But he upon ambrosia daily fed, that grew in Eden, thus he answered. So both away were caught, into the temple fled.